Hakadosh Boker Or Masechet Gittin Daf Kaftet Amud Aleph 29a. The Mishnah says, "Amavi get Eretz Yisrael." If somebody's going to bring a get in Eretz Yisrael, Hechal, and then what happens is the shliach becomes sick on the path and he can't take it. So he can make another shliach to somebody else. But if he told him, right, go take this chefetz, right? Which means that the husband came and he told the first shaliach that you have to take this, right? To get, you have to give her also, right? You have to take from her a certain object. So then he can't do it. He doesn't want that his pikadon should be in the hands of somebody else, which means like this. If the husband only sent the shaliach as a shliach lo lacha, that's okay. The shliach can make another shaliach, he comes, he takes it, and that's it. But what happens if the husband says, fine, give her the get, but make sure that you give back to me the, I don't know what, her rings. It's actually a machlok, it's not that simple. Usually the rings she keeps, but whatever. But let's say, whatever it is, that she has to give it back to him. So then here, the shliach lo lacha cannot make another shliach. The reason why is because now the husband wants, right, that there should be his pikadon should be dafka in his hand. So if he's going to come and now make it in somebody else's, that's not going to be good. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Kana comes and he says, chalatran. What does it mean, chalatran? Dafka if he became sick or there was another force majeure, he cannot give the get, right? But if it's going to be for any other reason, no. Meaning it's only if there's a reason. The guy got sick, the guy, you can't do it. But just stam, he wants to make another shliach. No. So says the Gemara, pshita, obviously. Chala ktani, we learn in Furash chala. So he says, Mao the time, I would have thought, say, who adin of gavdu chala, the same halacha applies even if he didn't get sick. Behadit tani chala, and the reason why we wrote down this concept of getting sick is because that's the norm. Meaning, if you're going to ask somebody, why can't you take the get when you were supposed to give the get? The reason is usually you got sick or something. That's the norm. Orcha demilta. That's the normal thing that happens. Tamashmalan comes teach you that it's chala davka. And if there's no ones, he cannot, if there's no force majeure, he cannot make another shaliach. Chala davka. זאת אומרת, צריך להיות דווקא שהוא חלה, שהוא חולה, או אונס אחר. לא יכול להיות בלי אונס. Okay? Everybody with me? Ask the Gemara, Hechi Dami, what is the Mishnah talking about? Elmaleh, if he told them, right? Holech, afal gavdulu chalanami. If he just said, Holech get zelishti, which means take this get to my wife, even though he didn't become sick, so it should be the same thing, right? Because since he did not say ata holech, he just said stam holech, so therefore it's not makbid who's going to do it. Holech just means take it. Did he say, you should take this? He didn't say you. He said take it. But if he said atolech, which means you're going to take it to the wife, so even if the guy gets sick, it shouldn't help. And if you're going to tell me in the Braita is going to be Rashbag, right? That the Rashbag says that even when he says holech ketzel ishti, he doesn't say ata, right? It means that the shliach cannot make another shliach. So even if he becomes sick, it shouldn't help. The Tanya was learned to the Braita. If a person just says, take this get to my wife, he can make a shliach to do it. But he says, you should take this get to ishti. You can't take it in somebody else's hands. Rashbag says, benkach ubenkach banahem. No, benkach ubenkach, whether it's this or that, and a shliach. A shliach cannot make a shliach. So if it's going to be shitat, he has to wait until it becomes better, and then he gives it back that.
And if he doesn't, when he dies at the place.
So then the husband. So the question is, if you go according to Rashbag, you could basically never make another shliach, basically. So therefore, Rashbag shliach. So if it's like Rashbag, there's nothing to talk about. And if it's the other one, it all depends whether you said holech or ata holech. So answers the Gemara, if you want, you could say holech, v'hu dechala. Either he said holech and then became sick, right? And therefore, right, dafka, if he comes sick, then it's going to be good, right? But he says, and even though it's not written in Furash in the Braita, if you could say, atolech dechala shane. He said dafka, you should go. But if a person became sick, so therefore he says over here, he could still make another shaliach. Why? Because if he's sick, the husband's not going to be makpid. That's going to be the second answer. If you want, you can answer a third answer. It is Rashbag, the chala shane, but still chala is different even according to Rashbag, which means when does the Rashbag say that you cannot make a shliach? Doesn't matter whether you said holech or at holech. It's if the guy's not sick. Sick, everybody agrees that there's such a thing as force majeure. Force majeure is something that, listen, honest. You understand? There's nothing else what to do. So again, one more time, 3 answers. First answer is that he said holech. He didn't say ata holech. And still, right, we said that even though he says holech, he could normally send it in the hands of somebody, people, but dafka if he becomes sick, right? That's when you're allowed to get somebody else to do it. Second answer, atolech, and still chole shani. Third answer, it's rashbag and chole shani. So it comes out that the chole is always different, that everyone's agreeing with. You understand? Okay? Until here we're clear. Yeah? Okay. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Imagine a person is bringing a get in Israel and then he becomes sick. He could bring it in the hands of somebody else. When we have a contradiction. If the husband comes and he tells 2 people, Tinu get lishti, give this get to his wife, right? He didn't give them the get, right? Or lishlosha, he told 3 people, kitvu get to tunu lishti, write a get and give it to the wife. They write it, and then they give it, right? Why? Because when he says tinu, for sure the kavanah is to make them edim in this get, and that they should write it and give it. And when he says to 3 people, right, even though they cannot be a bedin or whatever it is, right? He says kitvu tnu. The kavanah was that they themselves they write it. In only them yes. Aval shliach lo, but not anybody else. Not to make a shliach. Meaning, if he comes and he says write a get and write and give a get to the wife, it means not to a shliach. He wants them to do it. So Rabbi says hatam time am I? What's the reasoning? Mishum di bizayon the baal. Ktivat a get is really placed on the husband, and b'derech klal the husband himself would write it. And this husband doesn't know how to do it. So therefore, he has to make a shliach to do it. He doesn't want that everybody knows that he doesn't write it. And so because of that, he dafka wanted them to do it. Not that they're going to get another shliach, but then everyone knows. So he says, hacha, but here, ba lo kapid, here the husband doesn't care. Right? There's no bizayon. And therefore, they can make a shliach to another shliach. Nowadays, by the way, you should know, they usually don't want the husband to write it. Even if the husband didn't know how to write it, they don't want the husband to write it. It should be somebody else writing it. There's a few different reasons, because maybe he could come and he could make like different changes and then afterwards come and say, I didn't write it properly. And then he disqualifies his own get. So we purposely want to hear that and then he can make monkey business. He told the shliach, he told the sofer, everything's done properly, that's it. He can come afterwards and say, no, but when I wrote it, I didn't write it lishma.
Even if it's a Rav,
even if it's doesn't matter. We don't know. Rava comes and he says, Mishum de milenim, because everything is words. And words cannot be given over to a shliach, which means he only gave over words, do this. You cannot hand over those words to another shliach. You could give over, right, a phone, right? You could give over glasses, right? You could do all these things. Headphone. The headphones, right? You could do. But you cannot give over, right, words. Words are not able to be given over. Okay? My benal, what's the difference between them? The difference between them is shliach matana. What does it mean shliach matana? If a person comes and he says, write a shtar matana to this person, can the shliach make another shaliach or not? According to Rava, the words, right, dvarim, enam nimsarim leshliach. The words cannot be given over as a shlichut. So too, dvarim elu cannot be given over as shliach. You see, you can't make a shliach for dvarim, you have to do it yourself. Yeah? But to be plugged to the Rav Shmuel, it's machlok Rav Shmuel. Rav man matana in a get. Rav says that matana is not like a get, and therefore you can make another shliach. And Shmuel says that matana is like a get, and therefore one shliach cannot make another shliach. Okay, fine. 2 dots on the bottom of the page. V'imamallo, if he tells him, "Toli emena chevetz ploni," right? You bring me back this object, so that he can make another shliach, because he doesn't want his pikadon, his guarantee, to be in the hands of somebody else. Amar Reshakish says Reshakish, Kan Shana Rabbi, this is what Rabbi says, She'ena sho'el rashai lash'il, ve'ena socher rashai laskil. What happens if I borrowed, this is empty, what is it? Oh, okay. Right, let's say I borrowed this phone from David. Yeah, how do I know that I can't lend it to Mordechai? I borrowed it from you, can I lend it to him?
No, I need to know.
Yeah, I borrowed. Lashil.
Yeah, I need to know.
So says that's what we just said. We just said now. Reshakish comes and he says, here Rabbi taught that from our Mishnah that the shoel is not allowed lash'il, which means you cannot come and lend out, right, the utensil to somebody else without the knowledge of the owners. Yeah? Right? The same thing. You rented from me my car. You couldn't rent it out to somebody else.
This is what people are doing.
What?
Yeah,
Amar lo Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Zo afilu tinokot shel bet rabban yodim אותה. He said, I don't understand you. Everybody knows that. Even a little child of the school knows that you can't come and start lending out something that you borrowed, or you rent it out for things that are rented out. But sometimes what happens is if the shliach is going to give the get to another shliach, he doesn't know. Right? Right? The shliach acher, because then it becomes like he's saying that don't divorce her only in the house. Now all of a sudden he's getting divorced in the upper floor. Or you have to give divorce her with the right hand, and then he's divorcing with the left hand. And therefore what happens is, so therefore it's going to be a problem now, because if he's going to change from the shlichut, it's not going to be a good get. So says the Gemara, according to everybody, when the woman comes out to him, to the second shaliach, and gives him the object, and then she takes her get, for sure it's going to be a good get. Why? Because the husband was not makpid that you shouldn't give it in the hands of another person, but he was only makpid on the chefetz. And the get, right, has nothing to do with the chefetz. So it comes out that he could give over the get to another person, and the chefetz, he himself could take it. So he didn't change anything from the shlichut. When is a machloket? When he comes and he tells the first shaliach, kaftet amubet 29b, shekol mina chefetz v'hadarav legita. First take from her the utensil and then give her the get. The azalhiu, and then he went and he gave her the get, and then he took the chefetz. So Rabbi Yochanan says it's pasul because he didn't do like the shlichut. The chol sheken b'shluchu and kol sheken like his mamash, his original shlichut, right? His original shliach. He says it's going to be kosher. B'shluchu and kol sheken, right? With he himself, it's going to become kosher because according to basically the Shakish, he comes and he says that he's not makpid. That at the end of the day, the shlichut was kayemet, meaning he doesn't really care what was the order. Did she first give the get and then take the property, or take the property and then give the get? According to the Shakish, he doesn't care about the order. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, he was makpid. So the fact that it wasn't done properly, it's going to be pasul. But according to the Shakish, it's going to be kosher. We're on the Mishnah on Kaftet Amubet. Okay? So here, says the Mishnah. Somebody that brings a get from Dinat Hayam. Now remember, if you bring a get from Dinat Hayam, from the diaspora, you have to say, Faranirtam. Hechal, and he becomes sick. Ose shaliach bevedin. He makes a shliach in a bedin, and then he sends it. And he says in front of the bedin, he doesn't have to, the last shliach does not have to say, but rather he just says he's a shliach bedin. So therefore, if he's a shliach bedin, he doesn't have to say, because basically it means that it was already done in a bedin. Okay? Remember, that means basically he came from the diaspora, he got to Lod, he got to the airport, and then he became sick. Now he knows that the guy wants to get it done quick. So what happens? He goes to the bedin, says, listen, you can't take it anymore, you can't travel anymore to wherever it is, to the Tzafon, to the Darom, to wherever it is. So he just says it, and then the other guy is a shliach bedin. Okay? Says the Gemara. Amru le Rabbanan, the rabbis come and they say, Lavimi ben Rabbi Yavhu, Tavimi the son of Rabbi Yavhu, Ba'min Rabbi Yavhu, they asked Rabbi Yavhu, Shliach the shliach, Mashu shliach or lo? Can a shliach of a shliach make a shliach or not? Amar lehu, he told them, Ha lo tibai lehu. This is not, you don't need this as a safek. Midiktani, since we learned en a shliach acharon, right, that the shliach acharon does not have to say it. Mikla damash shliach, it's mashma that he can make a shliach as well. When is the question? Can he make a shliach? Is that only in a bedin, or even without a bedin? Meaning, we already know that the shliach already made the shliach, and he did it in the bedin. But now, if he wanted to make another shliach, does he also have to do it in the bedin?
The second one?
Right, the second one. Does he also have to do it in the bedin, or can he do it even without a bedin? Samruleh, he says, we don't have that question. Midiktani, when he says, right, Ela Omer Sheikh Bedinani, so obviously you know that it has to be done in the bedin. Because the last shaliach has to say, I'm a shliach betin. Now, if I'm the shliach betin, I walk out of betin, and then I make Mordechai into the third shaliach, so he's not a shliach betin. He's my shaliach. I'm the shliach betin. So obviously that's for sure that it has to be done in the betin. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak mat yachar. Rav Nachman said, no. He said like this. Amru le Rabbanan Lavi b'mnei Rabbi Yavu, says Rabbanan to Rabbi Meir, right, the son of Rabbi Yavu, ba min Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yavu shliach the shliach when you're making a shliach. Bevedin or shlo bevedin, does it have to be done in a din or not? Amalo, he says, why don't you ask Bichlal, can you make a shliach? Right? Why are you asking Bichlal, can you make a shliach in Bedin or not? Ask, can Bichlal you make another shliach? If the Bedin already made a shliach, maybe that's it. Maybe the buck stops here. You're making it kilu that for sure he can make a shliach. The only question is, does he have to do it in the Bedin or not? The question is, maybe Bichlal, whoever told you can make a shliach? Yeah? So Amrulei, so they told him, hello, that's not a question. Titznam, as we learned in the Mishnah, in the shliach hacharon, the last shliach. So we call the shliach mashma shliach. So for sure, shliach can make another shliach. But when you say the last one, it's not the last one; it's the second one. According to you, it's only the second one. So when you say the last one, it means that there could be even a last one. So one is a question coming by. There has to be done in Bedin or not. So he says, that's also not a question because it says shliach Bedin, so it has to be done in Bedin. Amar Rabba. Rabba comes and he says, Shliach Beretz Yisrael oseh kama shluchim. Do you know a shliach in Eretz Yisrael? He can make multiple shluchim. Why? Because since in Eretz Yisrael you don't have to say v'faran nichtam v'faran nechtam, so therefore you can make multiple shluchim. There's no problem, right? So Amar Ravashi comes and he says, Imet Rishon batru kulan. However, though, if the first shliach dies, everything else is batel. All the other shluchim are batel. The reason why is because they're all coming from his strength. So the second and the first one dies, that's it, Kaddish. You understand? It's like the husband died. If the husband sent a shliach and then he died, what happens? It's nothing. Because that's it. Once the husband's dead, they're only an extension of his hand. Same thing here with the shliach harishon. The shliach hashani, shlishi, they're only an extension of the first one. If the first one died, that's it. There's nothing left. So Amar Mor Ravashi says, Mor Ravashi, had the Abba, this member of Abba, which is a right of Ravashi, the Katnutahi, was when he was young. Yeah? Ilu met, why? Because Ilu met a Baal, midi mishasha yidbu. He says, 1 second, is there mamashut if the husband died? Who are they coming? The Baal. If the husband's alive, so then everyone's here. And if the husband's not alive, then nobody's here. So he's saying, 1 second, why do you say everything goes according to the first shaliach? Everything goes according to the husband. The husband made the first shaliach, and the shliach made another. But everyone's coming from the husband's koach, not from the shliach's koach. Okay? So therefore he wants to say, no, it's incorrect. It's not coming from the shliach's koach, it's coming from the husband's koach. And as long as the husband's alive, then it's going to be okay. Okay? Ha'u gavra. Yeah? Ha'u gavra. Ha'u gavra the shada lagita ledvitu. There was a man that he sent to get to his wife. Amar shliach, he said, right, to the shliach said to the husband during the time, Lo yadanala, but I don't know her. Right? How am I going to take the get to her? So Amaleh, he told him, Zili avele Abba bar Minyume, give it to Abba bar Minyume. He knows her. And he's going to give it to her. He went and he didn't find Abba bar Minyume. But he found Rabbi Yavu. Rabbi Chanina bar Papa bar Yitzchak Nafcha. When Savra was by them. So he asked, what should he do with the get? The husband said, you don't know her, give it to Jean Do. And then what happened? No, but then the second shliach was not there. הוא לא היה שם. הוא אומר, אני לא מכיר את האישה. הוא אומר, טוב, תביא את זה לרב פלוני. הוא מגיע לשם, רב פלוני לא נמצא. אבל יש 3 רבנים האחרים.
שהם נוסעים ליעד הזה.
לא, שהם שם כבר. שהוא יכול לתת להם את זה, שהם מכירים אותם. אמרו לי, they said, מסור מילה חמד עידן, give over the testimony in front of us, לפנינו ולפניהם, תחיה את אברהם בן יום, but that way we're going to give it to him. ולייזב לתבינו לה, sorry, to her. No, but we're going to give to him the to the shliach the get, right? ולייזב לתבינו לה, right? And then he's going to give it to the woman. אמר להו, רב ספרא, so says רב ספרא, והשליח שלא ניתן לגירושינו. Says 1 second, this is a shliach which was not given as Gerushim, which means they didn't make him a shliach only just to give it over to Abba bar Newman. So ever since the etzem shlichut was not in the Gerushim, how does he do that? Ikasu, so they were embarrassed. They didn't know what to answer, right? That means they realized that it was a mistake. So Amar Rava says, Kapachinu Rav Safra latrata Rabbanan semuche. Rav Safra, he was not samuch leorah. He won 3 rabbis that they were smuchim ba'ara. Meaning you had like one guy that he was like, he didn't have smicha yet, and he won 3 rabbis that they had smicha. Yeah? That means it's like powerful. Yeah? So Amar Ravashi says, what was so big deal? Mi Kamale, did he say Abba b'menyume veloat? Did he say Abba b'menyume is going to give it and not you? Which means he went and he told him at the beginning, you do it. And only afterwards when he said, I don't recognize her, then he said, okay, so, give it to the other one. But really, Be'emet, he was a shliach for everything. Okay? Ikadam, neither those that say, Amar Rav says, he made them make a mistake by mistake. Meaning, really, Be'emet, they were right. He was the one that was mistaken. Amar Ravashi, what was a mistake? My kamale, Abba b'menyume v'loat. He said, no, he did say, Abba b'menyume would give it, and not you. Which means, even though at the beginning he gave it to him that he should do it, afterwards he went and said, okay, fine. So Abba b'menyume is going to give it, and you're not going to give it. So the fact that he said, you're not going to give it, that's it. There was a person that gave a get to his wife, right? That he sent a get to his wife, to a shaliach. He tells the shliach, don't give it to her for 30 days. He had an onus within the 30 days, right? And therefore, right, that means he basically told her to give it to him until 30 days. He had an onus. Rava says, Chala, why is Chala okay? Because of anus, because of onus. He was also anus. Amaleh, which one? The shliach was an onus. So he says, so therefore, even after the 30 days, you can still make a shliach, and then you're going to give the get. So Amnu Rabbanan, Rava says Rabbanan to Rava, Vashaliach shalom tel girushinu. 1 second, right? He was only given permission to give the get until 30 days. So therefore, within the 30 days, he's a shliach for girushin. But after the 30 days, he's not a shliach anymore for girushin. So how does he give it over afterwards? That's it. It finishes shlichut. Samar lehu. So he says, Kevin delvatar tlatin yomim matzi megaresh. Since after 30 days he could also be megaresh with his get, so for he's still going to be considered a shliach to do with the girushin even within the 30 days. Okay, so so why don't we suspect Shema PS? Maybe Be'emet, why don't we suspect, right, that really Be'emet, maybe the husband came to the wife within 30 days and therefore he was appeased and therefore it's not a good get. Milo Tzran, today we learn in the Mishnah. ועכשיו אם לא באתי בכמה 12 חודש, הוא מת בתוך 12 חודש, הרי זה get, it is a get. But we asked, why don't we suspect maybe Shem appeased, maybe he was appeased? Rabbi Ravuna says, Rabbi Ravuna, Hachi Amar Rabbi Amari, this is what Rabbi Amari said in the name of Rav. Be'omer ne'emeret alai lomar shelo bati. He's believed to say that I didn't come. Right? What does that mean? He's believed to say that I didn't come. That means if he didn't come at all, we're not going to suspect that. Right? Ichsi. So he was embarrassed because it was true. So he says, they found that it was an rusa. And Rava said, it was only by an rusa. By Nesua, not by rusa, which means like this. A Nesua, she's married. He could come and he could appease her, or they could appease each other, and then that's it. By Narusa, there's nothing really to appease because there's no yichud in relations by Narusa. So therefore, it's actually going to be a good halacha. So Rava comes and he says, that is for sure is going to be the doubt. Right? Ki mashu bedin shaliach, when the bedin are going to make a shaliach, we're going to try to get to the 2 dots. It says, befanav or shlo befanav. We're talking about that it's going to be in front of him or not in front of him. So v'hadar pashta, and then they came and they actually answered it, ben befanav, ben shlo befanav, whether it's in front of the first shaliach or not in front of the first shaliach. V'shalchu mitam, and they sent from Eretz Yisrael to Babel, and that's halacha, ben befanav, ben shlo befanav, whether it's going to be in front of them or not in front of them. Okay? So says the 2 dots, Haud Amar, somebody comes and he says, right, to another person, yeah, go give the get. If I don't come from now to 30 days, it's going to be a get. And if he does come, it's not going to be a get. Ata, at the end, he came, but there was a nahar that was stopping him from coming. Meaning, Amar lehu, he says, look, I'm here. Amar Shmuel says, Shmuel lo shma matya. It doesn't call that he came. Meaning the fact that he made a condition. Yeah, we saw this. The fact that he says that he came and he made a condition that if he's going to come back, but at the end of the day, now he has a honest, doesn't matter. He didn't come back. Yeah? Somebody came and he said to another person, if he's not going to be mefayesata until 30 days, it's going to be a get. Azel paisa, right? He went and he appeased her. But at the end, right? It didn't help. Yeah, she didn't accept it. Amar Rav Yosef says, he says, what, did he give her 3 kabim of money and she wasn't appeased? Meaning, if he would have given her the money, maybe she would have been appeased. So the fact that he didn't do it, it means that he didn't appease her, and therefore it was nitkayim atrai. So even though he doesn't have a lot of money, we're not going to say that he's honest, right? Meaning, if he would have given her a lot of money, maybe he would have appeased her. Maybe she would have all of a sudden said, "Oh, you know what? Maybe it's worth it being your husband." Yeah. Some people say, Amar says, what? He has to give her 3 kabim of gold. He tried, and it didn't work. So hakamandamar, this is like kamandamar that says yesh onas begitin. Hakamandamar, it all depends whether you hold on. Yes, there is onas begitin, or there's no onas begitin. That's the machlok in between. Okay, fine.